Just gonna go over Matt Anderson's serve just a little bit. I'm not gonna really talk about it that much. I just want to kind of see from two angles what we're dealing with here. He just does a nice job of, rotating his hips. Everybody pretty much in America knows who this guy is, so does a nice job of rotating his hips. Really high toss out in front of him. Goes and gets it. Pretty classic, just kind of torque, staying tall, and hey, let's just let it run for a little bit here. Alright, so we got a nice controlled toss, still over his right shoulder. It doesn't go to the left or the right, it just kind of comes straight back. Nice toss out in front of him. His fingers don't curl too much, so the ball doesn't come back at him. His fingers kind of open up, so his hand is still open. His fingers don't curl. His wrist curls. So he kind of lets the ball come out in front of him. Big double arm lift on his right step. And those arms kind of swing out and then close to the body. So he's propelling himself close to the body. And you'll see that he gets a natural break up at this point, so he brings his arms up to this point, which if you double arm lift strong enough, your arms should come up to about that point. If your arms aren't getting up to that point, and they're still staying pretty low, and then you're having to move them physically, or push your arms back physically, then you're not driving your legs hard enough. Get that classic. He opens up pretty well with his arm here, 90 degrees, opening up. We get the classic elbow high here. You can see both on both sides here. It's kind of got a little bit of forward flexion in his hips going forward when he hits it, so he's landing in the court too, pretty far. Landing in the court, you can see how far his hips are opening up from the right to the left. So when he takes off, you can see his hips are all going this direction. And then in midair, it's kind of shoulders are reaching, his abs are stretching, and now his hips are facing the other direction here. So he's got a lot of torque, but he's staying tall with his back straight down still. You can see in the other video too also. So you can see his going to the right. Then his hips open up and now his feet are facing the other side of the court. You can see his feet facing this way now. He hasn't arched his back a whole lot back, it's more rotating his back. If you're having problems contacting right, I mean he lands to the left a little bit and walks to the left. You can see him walking to the left. If you're having problems with this, try to go forward more. It's just his style. He can hip turn and stuff. So if you're having problems hitting it to that direction, try to land more forward. It works for him though pretty well, obviously. So you can see it here. He's also extremely consistent. Before in his career, he would toss it. His arm wouldn't get back to this point. It would get back to only about there. So he's in more control. But now he can jump higher. He can do some things so he can get the arm all the way back here. I don't recommend necessarily that far for most people because then they lose the ball. But that's something he's practiced on, and he's been doing for the last probably 8 years, at least 8 years. He also clicks his foot right before the service line. He does a lot of things that kind of keep this routine that he does. So he's one of the more consistent jump servers in terms of preparation. Obviously, it translates into execution, but you can see these are totally different clips. He does the same thing. He walks forward. Let's see if I can see the whole video here. He usually walks forward. You can't see it, but he clicks his foot, his right foot, on the end line before he comes in. He hits the ball to the left. He usually does that with his feet. He kind of cleans his shoes, turns the ball, holds it with his right foot, and now he's ready. So he has definitely a routine to him. Let's see. Let's let it run again here really quick in full speed here. It's great follow through too. Over on the top you can see his hand. His feet comes around, so they're both pointing in the forward direction more. His hips are kind of facing this direction. Now as he opens up, his left arm is coiled and reaching, so you can see this kind of bend here. I like what he does with his left arm here. Not a lot of players do this swimming kind of motion. You can see the elbow's bent, locked inward, and then he swims out, and then he pulls it around, so it's gaining some momentum. Elbow's pretty high, obviously. And then the follow through, he just rips right through the ball, and his arm is almost basically hitting himself in the back. You can see his arm right there is all the way through, whipping through. You can see it here too, on the bottom video, so up. All the way through. You can see his arm is basically right here. His arm's right there. So he's slicing through the ball. He's not stopping at all. Got a lot of good twist to it. So twist. You can see his number completely. If you just watch his jersey number, you can see it. So his jersey number is kind of pointing that way to the left. It's straight. And now it's to the right, so he gets a lot of rotation. But his head doesn't really move that much. You can see his head's still in the same position. He's going up and getting it while he's jumping at his max too, so if we put a line here for his head, he's contacting it at a pretty high point where his head is at its peak. I see a lot of the biggest mistake in most jump servers is they're up there and they contact it like here. So they've dropped like 6 inches without knowing it, and then they drag the ball into the net. So he's kind of kept it really high and gone up and getting it. So go up and get it. Let's try to see one more time here. Here's the overhead view. Solid strike, and he's aiming deep. He's not aiming super shallow. Most good jump servers aim for the end lines and the seam. This is right in the seam and end line. Look at this. So it's not only a good serve, but it's a good location. You want to be able to serve there, 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 and then this is ridiculously hard to serve to the right there, but any serve that's here, here, or here is pretty good. That's what you're going for. And he's split it perfectly. See if we can do it one more time for you. All right. All right.